So welcome back to What's Arising. It's been a long while since I've been here, since my last podcast. I've been busy. I've been focused. Lots happening in my life, and I'm sure lots happening in yours. So here we are. We're coming home, a place to call home. I hope you feel at home here in this podcast. And this theme for me is very appropriate right now because many of the insights I've got over the last few months are about home. So the theme is very appropriate, I think, for what's happening with me, what's happening with people I know, and what's happening in the world. Also, there is a lot of homelessness. So let me get into the podcast. On the theme of home, I'm going to ring my bowl as I have in other podcasts. And as I ring the bowl, I invite you to get a sense of what home is for you. Maybe you can go to that deeper sense of home without the wounding. But if home for you is a wounding place, I invite you to be with that also. Whatever home is for you, notice whatever feelings, images, sounds, ideas and thoughts and insights come up for you as I ring the bowls. Get connected to that place. Get oriented towards that place you would sense as home. Mm-hmm. When I get connected to that sense of home and the bells, I get a tingling sensation all over, and it reconnects to me to the space that I might call love, and a deep peace and serenity. A sense of caring. What was there for you? What were your feelings around home? Did any images come? Any sounds of home? Where is home for you? Maybe that's embodied. You can feel it in you. Maybe it's a sense of place where your family is. Where is home? Do you have a home? Or in a sense, are you homeless like so many people in the world in terms of place? And maybe there's even a sense of homeless and lost inside of you. I think for many that is the case, that we feel lost and in some cases don't feel at home in this world anymore. The way things are unfolding, we can feel deeply lost. And there might even be sensations when we think of home. These triggers and wounds come up that have not been healed around father, mother, hometown, home place, that still needs to be let go of and surrendered. I think this sense of the space called home can have so many things associated with us that could be felt. I was originally going to call this podcast A Place Called Home, but I realized that place just was not adequate, because it's not, in my sense, physical. Space was a little broader, because I've been and am creating online spaces that feel like home. At least that's what people are saying, and I'll tell you more about queer and community later. But space is more appropriate, and then there's this inner space that feels like home. For a very long time in my life, the space of home has always been inside me. It's been an inner state. So perhaps the word state called home is even more appropriate. Where can we find this state called home rather than the state of feeling lost? How can we embrace and embody and feel at home wherever we are, whoever we're with? Where can we find that state? This has been a journey for me, as it turns out, through my life. I had a pretty good place called home here in this life, and with pretty good parents. Yeah, there was wounds, there was challenges like most families, maybe all families, but I could say I was fortunate. But back around 95, 96, I was starting to feel very lost in this world, lost in my job, very burnt out, and started to search for meaning in my life. I had this inner voice that said, find out who you are. And this voice had been calling to me since I was a teen, but I pretty much ignored it. I had stuff to do. I had to be successful in the physical world, go get a job, etc. So I went off to university, went off to I work at IBM, and eventually I had to turn towards that inner voice. So that voice guided me. And in 1997, after following some synchronicity that was guiding me to India eventually, I had this experience where I guess I left my body for a few moments and I found home. I was home. I was at what I would call source, and the best label I could put on that, it was a state I would call home. That place, that state was unconditional love. I'd never done anything wrong. No one has done anything wrong. There was absolute peace. This was source. This was God. This was being enveloped in this space of oneness, unity, home. My purpose came from that place also. When I left, I had this experience or the sense that I was to spend the rest of my life coming into integrity with that state of home, to come in integrity with oneness, with unity, with unconditional love, find complete peace within myself, let go of all opinion and judgment of others and myself, to heal, forgive. That's been quite a journey to come into integrity, and that's an ongoing journey, as I'm sure you can appreciate if you're on that trip, because there's more work to do. But the other part of that journey was to walk each other's home, come home with others. So kind of coax or teach or invite or hold people's hands as we walk home together. That was very much part of my purpose that I came away with, and what I've been attempting to do ever since. And perhaps if you're listening to this podcast, perhaps this is part of your purpose, to go home, to find your way home. A couple of years ago, maybe about 4 years ago, I came across the Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. If you haven't checked out the Gene Keys, search that, as in genetics, Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, and do a free profile there, get a sense of what those are like. And you'll see this picture of spheres, and you'll see your life's work and your purpose and your path of love and your path of prosperity. What's interesting on my own chart, there's this sphere called the sphere of vocation, how you are to serve humanity, serve the Grail in a sense. And for me, that is gene key number 2. And gene key number 2 is at the Siddhic level. Each of these keys have a shadow sense, a gift sense, and a Siddhic or enlightened sense of this particular key. And the Siddhic level is unity of gene key number 2. And if you read about gene key 2, it's about going home. It's about going back to source, to oneness. So that's interesting. So this is how I serve humanity, is this coming back to unity. The shadow is this sense of being lost, disoriented, lost from your way home. And the gift is reorientation, is orientation. So, realizing that in reality, you can't actually be lost. That's an illusion. You are always home wherever you are. You're always connected to home, even though you may not feel that way. It's to become reoriented, that it's impossible to be in complete separation. But there is a journey back to the realization that we are whole, we are one, we are source, and we've never really, in our essence, left home, that it's always inside of us. So this, interesting enough, connected to my experience in India and my sense of what I want and need to do in the world now is building spaces to come back into unity, into community, into coherent community. So this is what I've been focused on in the last months, and in the fall we'll be rolling out a program called Coherent Community, the third iteration of this experience, and they've been wonderful and deep. But the other thing that I'm noticing in my world is this loss of this physical space called home for me, and I'm noticing this in many of my colleagues around me. This physical place we call home is being changed or uprooted or lost in a sense, as we are finding our way even more so spiritually with our spiritual connection and home. The physical home appears to becoming unstable. And this is very true for me. I came back to be with my mother about 2.5 years ago because I wanted her to be able to stay in her own home until she passed, if I could possibly serve her and help her in that. And then in May, she passed over to her real home, I suppose. I guess she's gone home. My mother would have never agreed or never wanted or resisted going to a nursing home out of her place that she called home. So I was so fortunate and blessed that I could be in this, my home for many years. This is the place where I grew up, to be able to support her in being home until she passed to her real home. So I came home to this place that I grew up and called home whenever for the last 40 years or so, when I came back here to my hometown, to this place where my mother and father were, I would say I'm going home. And my siblings that were away from this place also would say, hey, I'm heading home, back to mom. And this mother energy, this mother archetype holds this relationship of home so well, doesn't it? I hope you've had that experience in your life, that home is often where your mother is, or that mother energy is, that nurturing energy. It's also where your father is, to create this protection around the home, the boundaries of that home, the support, the security, the safety. But the love and the peace and that essence of home seems to be very much a feminine mother archetype, which feels so good, so nurturing. It's like a big hug. So now I'm in this experience of not having or moving on from this physical place I used to call home. And my siblings are having to let go of this space. My mother's gone. What will unite us around this sense of family and home together? And I'll move somewhere. I'll put my backpack on and be a digital nomad, or I'll find another place, but it'll probably never be a physical place like this, which I called home. So what I'm doing instead is fulfilling that longing for this place to call home in community, in the programs that I'm co-creating with others. And I never got the sense that that's what I was doing until very recently, as we started to talk about our experience in this online space called Cohering Community, with the people that were being attracted to come there again and again, week after week, to be in this space. We went through the program together, which invited us into connection with each other, and we've been meeting for a year or more for both of these cohorts. And we come back because there's this sense of caring, kindness, transparency, deep love for each other, deep sense of connection, this sense of wholeness there, which invites us back. It's one group was called the Oasis. It's a place to relax, to recharge, to energize, and then to go back out into the world and do the work that we want to do there. So we've called it home. And in some cases, people have commented that they can share things that they can't share with their spouse or their family. They can get more deeply authentic with themselves and with each other in these spaces. So in a sense, if we've been lost in the desert, the Oasis is a touch point, a home place where we can connect and then go back out into the world and find maybe other lost souls, or do our work, our service to the world. A touch point that we call home with each other, as we can interconnect, and a touch point within ourselves that we can call home. So I invite you to check out Cohering Community. It's at elevatework.ca/Cohering Community is where you'll find it, and I'll put the link below. And I've mentioned it in other podcasts. In the fall, we're starting a new cohort, a larger cohort, because I feel that we want to be able to expand this. So hopefully, if we get enough people involved, we will have several groups, several pods of people, of 8 to 14 people that get this very intimate, deep experience with each other of practicing wholeness, being at home, caring for each other, getting to know each other at our authentic depths over time. And we'll take you through a program that connects you to yourself and each other, and hopefully beyond that, you'll have the essence of home that you can continue to co-create and collaborate with over time, or just be an oasis for each other. We'll also experience this, each group or each circle being connected to other circles, other places of home, and maybe this whole sphere, this whole larger circle becomes also a sense of home, or a place where you can visit other people's home and get connected there too, mimicking that sense of community. And I love that word community because it also speaks to my vocation and that sense of India, come home, come community. So I invite you to come into unity, to come to cohere community with us. And I wish you just an amazing journey home. And if I can support you in your journey home, or if you have gifts to offer in the homecoming, please reach out and let's have a conversation. Thanks for attending this podcast on What's Arising. Home is arising.